Hey there everybody, it's Matt with Matticus Video, and today we're doing an anime review. Haven't done one of these in a minute. I haven't done it since I started back doing videos, so we shall kick it off. First off, let me say that I was actually looking at the page, and I was surprised to find that while I was away, we actually got a pretty good bump of subscribers. I think when I stopped uploading about a year ago, we were at about 75, and now we're about 85, 86, I believe. So, welcome everybody. It's great to see you here. I say you came at a good time because this is a time where I'm taking a lot of requests and suggestions as to what to do with the channel, and so this is a good time for everybody to kind of make their voices heard in the channel and kind of see where we go from here. But so, with that being said, jump into this anime review. We're going to be reviewing Goblin Slayer today. Goblin Slayer is a 12 episode anime based off of a manga series of the same name. And when it first came out, there was a lot of controversy behind it because the first episode is, let's say, abrasive, is the best word I can use. Um, the first episode doesn't really set the tone as much as you'd think for the series as a total. First episode starts off, you're following a group of adventurers that are going through a dungeon of goblins. And goblins are kind of a low-level threat in this world. And so they're, there's a bunch of cocky adventurers, low-level. They're like, it's just a bunch of goblins, we'll get in there and rape them. Little did they know it would be reversed. They go in and they get tricked by the goblins, and they get flanked by them, and they start taking them out. The tank hero kind of class one, his weapon set is not built for fighting in caves, so he's unable to actually do anything. His sword's too long, so he keeps banging on the ceiling, on the walls, and all kind of crap. So he gets taken out pretty quick. And then you have the fighter class, monk kind of fist fight style. She's taking them out one by one, just doing awesome. And then a hobgoblin shows up, and she goes to kick this thing. He catches her leg, throws her to the ground. I think it broke her leg or something like that, and so she gets taken out pretty quick. Two spellcasters. The first one, the offensive spellcaster, she gets stabbed and poisoned, so she's out of the game. And the priestess healer class, she's just out of her element. She's confused as to what to do. She just kind of goes, just kind of breaks down and just becomes useless. And she tries to drag the spellcaster out. The monk has been dragged away to be defiled and all that good jazz. And while she's dragging this spellcaster away, a character shows up, Goblin Slayer, and he is a high-ranked hero specializing in slaying goblins. That's all he does. That's the only thing he kills. That's the only thing he hunts. Is goblins. So he comes in and takes out all the goblins, saves the monk, and then goes back, and the priestess decides that she's going to stick with him and learn from him and help him out as best she can as a healer. And so we have a party of two, and that's kind of what the first episode sets, is setting these two up as kind of your main characters of the story. We then meet a lot of different characters throughout the series. The rest of the party that ends up being built is an elven ranger, a lizard man spellcaster, and a dwarvish spellcaster. And they're kind of the base group that we kind of follow around throughout the story as they go and slay goblins and all that good stuff. And then you have some other side characters such as the guild secretary representative. I just call her the guild girl. Actually, nobody in this show has names. You just call them what they are. So the guild girl, then you have the farm girl, who is a friend of Goblin Slayer's from his childhood that he now lives with. Her and her father, or maybe uncle, I can't remember. But he lives with them on their farm, and he protects their farm from goblins and all that stuff as payment for living there. And so we follow the Goblin Slayer and the party as, like I said, they pick up jobs of goblin slaying. They go to a different town and save them from goblins that have been holed up in their sewer system. And overall, the show is very on the nose. If you've ever played D&D, this is D&D, the anime. I mean, it has so many references. Everything from the spells they use to terminologies and the different, facets of dungeon crawling. You see a lot in D&D. Also has some references to the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit, and to some MMORPG elements like WoW and whatnot. It has a lot of elements from that. So it draws a lot from that. Now, here's the criticism that has been said about Goblin Slayer. A lot of people say that it's a low-budget Berserk. I disagree. Berserk and Goblin Slayer, while they do have similar elements to them, they differ in a lot of things. Berserk is extreme gore, extreme action, whereas Goblin Slayer is action and gore and, extreme stuff, but toned down to a more digestible level. The first episode, like I said, threw a lot of people off because of how abrasive it was. It threw you in right off the bat and punched you right in the face. And then it kind of spent the rest of the series kind of like, just dragging you by your collar and like, come along, we're going to have adventures. And so a lot of people were thrown off by that first episode. So if you're going to watch this, watch the first episode and take it for what it is and keep going with it. And that's a lot of anime nowadays. I plan on doing a review of Black Clover where I'm going to essentially say the same thing. These are animes that it's a slow start. And once you get into it, you realize it's completely different than what it started with. And that's kind of what this is. And it does a great job of character building in Goblin Slayer. You actually learn a lot about why Goblin Slayer does what he does and what his motivations are. You don't really know much about the other characters. I'm hoping we explore that in future seasons. I might have to... actually, picking up the manga wouldn't do me much good because where the story is at in the anime is where the story is at the manga. So I'm curious to see how long it's going to be until we get a season 2, because at the end of the last episode it says Goblin Slayer will be back, which to me says there's going to be more seasons. So I'm curious to see what they do with that, and if they're going to wait for source material to come out, or they're going to begin exploring it on their own like a lot of animes do. Some for the good, some for the bad. So we'll see where that goes. Let's talk about characters, and what I like about this show is the character development. Like I said, we've already talked about Goblin Slayer. We learned that in his childhood, his family and village was attacked by goblins. He had to watch as all of his family were raped and killed. And so that's his motivation behind why he does what he does. And now you have the priestess. You get to see her develop as an adventurer. She is a beginning adventurer. We see her grow as a person and as an adventurer, and she does a lot to help Goblin Slayer kind of bust out of his shell. And Goblin Slayer, you never see his face. Never. He never takes his helmet off. He's always in full armor, and you never see him, I think like 3 times in the entire show you see him without his armor, and then you don't even see his face. You see like half of his face at one point, and that's it. And that's same with the manga. You never see his face there either. And they do a lot of creative things in the manga where they put like speech bubbles over his face and all this crazy stuff. So they did a great job in the anime of keeping true to that. Up next, the Elven Ranger. She is a free-spirited elf who she's heard legends and tales of Goblin Slayer, and she finds him, I believe his name is Orkbolg in her language, and so she hunts him down to, adventure with this famous adventurer that she's heard so much about. And she's kind of the lighthearted part of the party. She's the one that keeps it, not as serious as it could be. And I think that's very appropriate for this group. And with any group of adventurers, like I said, if you play D&D or you play any role-playing game where you have a group of people, you need a good balance of personalities. If you have a bunch of people that are just extreme all the time, it's going to get weird. If you have a bunch of people that are just lethargic all the time, it's going to get stupid. So she kind of keeps it lighthearted in a good way, and her archery skills are, second to none. She can, hit several enemies with one arrow, curve arrows. In her words, if you're good enough at a skill, it seems like you're using magic. And she does that very well. And she, like I said, I think she's a very good addition to the party itself. Then you have we'll go with the Dwarven spellcaster. He kind of reminds me of the cleric I used to play in D&D. I had a Dwarven cleric, and, he specialized in support of not necessarily healing, because we have the priestess for that, but he does things that, help keep the party, able to do what they do by using distractions, by using the elements, and he uses elemental magic, fire and rocks and whatnot, and he's able to use that to kind of help the party. He's kind of a tank class in a way. And then you have, and the thing I like about him is he's kind of the comedic timing of the group. And, he has this love of, alcohol, and he's a classic dwarf of, he's all about, well, after this we'll have a drink at the pub and we'll have a good time. And him and the elf have a good back and forth with each other, like any, Lord of the Rings reference there of, the elf and the dwarf don't like each other, but they end up being pretty good friends. And they work together, and there's a good camaraderie between them, even though they kind of bicker back and forth a lot. And it's really fun to watch. Then you have the Lizard Man. He's kind of the shaman of the group. Kind of has some necromancy powers. He's able to summon skeletal warriors to fight for them. And he's at one with the elements and at one with his god. Iguanodon, which me and my buddy Connor watched this whole series together. And anytime he said that, anytime he used his spells, we laughed, because he's just a fun guy, and he's that serious to the point of it's lighthearted. He's the one. He's kind of their moral center of. He kind of keeps them on track. He's like, okay, this is what we need to do. He kind of keeps Goblin Slayer toned down. He keeps the elf and the dwarf, on task, and he's kind of like the father figure of the group, in my opinion, and I think that's great. Like I said, the chemistry between all these are, fantastic. I mean, they came looking for this adventure that they've heard so much about, whether it be the dwarf hearing of Beardcutter, the great adventurer, or, Orkbolg, or I don't actually think the Lizard Man ever heard of him, but he knew of a great adventure that he sought out to help him on his quest of being a great lizardman that can bring honor to the lizardmen. And so you have all these fun characters, and the chemistry between them is great. You get to see it expand a lot throughout the anime, and it kind of culminates to the end episode where this great fight happens with a goblin lord. And, Goblin Slayer himself within the guild is kind of seen as a black horse kind of character of, everybody respects him, but they kind of see him as silly in the fact that he only hunts goblins, he only hunts these low-rank goblins, but somehow he's still a, silver-rank hero. And they kind of make fun of him. They're like, well, we're great adventurers, we do all kind of quests, whatever brings us glory and money and honor. But at the end of the day, when he asks them for help, they gladly do it. And he offers to pay them. They're like, just get us a drink and it'll be all the payment we need. So, and that's great. I love seeing guilds in anime, the way they portrayed. You have guilds such as in Spice and Wolf, that are strictly, we're here for the money, we're here for profit. And then you have Adventurers Guild, like in this one. And this one, Konosuba, animes like that, where adventurer guilds, it's a family that work together for a greater cause. They're here for honor, they're here for glory, they're here to be adventurers, but they're also, at the end of the day, if somebody needs their help, they're going to help them regardless of what it costs them. And so you get to see this great fight, and the great fighting sequences. You get to see, these high-level spellcasters, high-level paladins, fighters, barbarians, all fighting for this greater cause. And it's great. I won't spoil anything as to why they're doing it or where it's happening, because I want you to watch this show. I think it's a great show. Overall, I think it's one of the better ones from, you know, this last year. I mean, it's technically part of this year's anime set, but at the same time. But yeah, so check out Goblin Slayer. It is available both subbed and dubbed. Now let's talk about why I watched it dubbed. I watched a bit subbed and I watched dubbed. The reason I like the dub better in this instance is because I did a lot of interesting things with the dubbing. Especially the spellcasters, you have this like weird echo effect in their voices when they go into spellcaster mode, and I think that's really cool. And I didn't see that in the sub. It might have been there, because I didn't watch enough of the sub to really state that, but really great dub work on this one. The voices all match the characters superbly well, and I think it just really suits the feel and the mood of the anime. The voice acting work does. So, like I said, you can check it out subbed on Crunchyroll, or you can check it out dubbed on Funimation, or any other site. Those are the two I use because, you know, I like to, you know, say I support the anime community. But yeah, check that out. Also, you know, like I said, there's a manga available that is the source material. So if you want to kind of dive more into the lore, it's a lot grittier. The manga is a lot more gruesome and gory, and they toned it back a lot for the anime. So if that's what you're looking for, go right ahead. I believe it's available on Amazon and other book-carrying sites, like Bookwalker and things such as that. So check it out there. And yeah, that's all I have for this one. I have a few other anime-related videos coming up, such as my pick for the anime of the year for last year, and kind of my review of the pickings for the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, and my opinions on those. I also have, I'm currently watching Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, which is kind of one of the top-ranked animes from last year. A lot of good viewer support on that one. A lot of people love it, and so I'm watching that, and yeah, I have a lot of manga that I'd like to review. Also, I'm going to be reviewing the Wolf and Parchment series, which is the spin-off series of Spice and Wolf. Like I said, I have reviews of a lot of the Spice and Wolf novels, light novels. I'm going to be doing some more of those as well. I have about 2 more of those that I'm going to be reviewing, like I said, because they're both going at the same time. So it's fun to see how the stories are branching off from each other. But I'll get more into that in that review. And also have I think I have a double header. Yeah, I have a double header coming, which if you don't remember what that is, that's where I take a source material and its adaptation, and I compare them to each other. And I believe I'm going to be doing that with the comic A Kill, which I did a review of the anime a long time ago. Like, that was one of my first reviews. So I'm going to be doing a double header because the manga series of that has finally concluded in the English, and I'm going to be comparing the two and as to which one I prefer and why. So check that out, and as always, guys, I love all of you. So thankful to see all of you, and I'm hoping this video is something you'll enjoy. And as always, love you guys. See you in the next video. Later.